right, Data Expedition Incorporated.
Yeah.
It's in our name.
Yes,
We're
we
a
have.
corporation that expedites the flow of data. So that means when you got to get files from, say, a content producer in Singapore to a studio in Burbank, we help make that happen.
Okay, now I need that done fast.
You need that done fast because time
and
is
accurately,
money.
yes.
Yeah, and you know, as cloud becomes a thing, as global workflow distribution becomes a thing, it's important for all of these content producers to be able to keep those workflows tight and work with people around the world, and we really help do that.
And how do you do that?
Well, a lot of people don't realize, you know, back in the old days with the internet, you had dial-up and things were slow. And you knew it was slow because it was hardware. I remember, I remember slow dial-up, you know, 2400 baud.
Do you remember the modems that you used to have to stick the phone in?
I'm not quite that far back.
Oh, I'm aging myself. Really, they used to have acoustic couplers.
Yes, I've seen them. I never used one.
Oh yeah, I've used them. I use them, and I have to tell you, not to digress, but I will tell you that many years ago, they were the rage, and it was a 300 baud was the first one that came out, and you literally took the telephone receiver and you put it in these suction cups, and it made it sound like.
Yeah, people need to watch the movie War Games to see how that works.
Yeah. And then they came up with a 1200 baud modem, and those things are like $400 or $500. I'll never forget that, and they were horrible. They were horrible. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, back then, if your connection to the network was slow, you knew why. It was because you had that slow modem there, and if you wanted to go faster, you got faster hardware.
Right.
But today, the networks have gotten so much faster that the software can't keep up. So somebody's got a 10 meg pipe, they upgrade to 100 megabit per second, they upgrade to a gigabit per second, it's not faster.
Right.
Why is that? It's because there's more to it than just hardware. There's software too. And you may have heard of TCP/IP. It's a stuff goes back
Yes, I've
to
heard of that.
1974 is when it was invented. A lot has changed since then. So our technology takes over that role of figuring out how to manage that data path, how to get the data going the right speed, and make sure that that pipe is getting filled. So when somebody's paying for that extra infrastructure of a gigabit or 10 gigabit, they're really getting that, even if it's going around the world.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're probably the largest company that does that, or one of the certain leaders.
Actually, well, there's 4 of us that won Emmys a few years ago, and that have the real original technology. We're actually the smallest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because we take a different approach to it. We don't try to also build managed file transfer or media asset management or any other bells and whistles there. We focus solely on the data transport. And so because of that, we're able to keep things really, really simple.
That's important.
So you don't want to have to sit on the phone with an IT engineer for 3 hours just to set up some software that a guy who barely knows how to turn on his computer can use. We keep it all really, really simple. It's very intelligent, so it figures out what's to do so that the guy sitting there using it doesn't have to.
Can you give us an example, a typical example of how your company would operate from the time a request comes in to the time it's actually delivered? Go through the process.
Well, that's one of the things that's unique about us in that we actually have our software available on our website. So most of our customers have gone to our website, downloaded and tried the software before they ever even talk to us. That's how simple and easy it is to use. And then when they do reach out to us, we try to make sure that it's going to work right for them before they ever buy anything. So someone comes in and say they have, it's like a small post-production house. They've got customers that are sending them project data. They need to transcode it, insert ads, do whatever they're going to do and get the final product back out. That's the simplest use scenario.
Right.
The problem is that the time between when the customer comes to them and says, hey, I've got this, to when it needs to be on the air, that can be a really short window. That could be days, that could sometimes be hours. And if they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs, waiting for a file to upload and then download, that's time, that's money.
Right. Interesting. What other types of projects have you worked on?
Well, because of the fact that we're in the performance area, we often get called into situations where there's a bigger performance problem, a bigger infrastructure problem. A few years ago, I was called into a situation where a major movie studio needed to move terabytes of data per day to do a transfer from studios in one area to a secure backup facility. And so everything was going to be rolled out on 10 gigabit Ethernet, 10 gigabit local Ethernet, over 10 gigabit WAN. They had everything set up. They were ready to go. 2 weeks out, I'm starting to ask questions like, are you sure that's a 10 gigabit network? Oh, yeah. Telecom told us it's a 10 gigabit network. Have you tested it yet? No. Let's run some tests. Hey, how come this is only going 400 or 500 megabits per second?
So
Fly out, big meeting. Turns out, wasn't 10 gigabit.
So what do you do in that situation?
We had to scramble. What we figured out was that they had a network that was 10 1 gigabit networks. So as long as you split it up and had 10 different combinations of systems, it would go 10 gigabits. But after months of planning, it wasn't actually 10 gigabits.
And you were able to go in there and clean that up.
And figure that up. One of the things that our software does as part of that intelligent adaptation is it has to understand what's going on in the network. And so it does the best it can to figure out how to work with broken networks. And if it gets to a network that's so broken, it puts out diagnostics that we can look at and say, oh, okay, here's your problem.
Is that what happened in that case?
Actually, in that case, yeah, because what I saw was that the size of the packets they were using were too small. Yeah. And that was a red flag because on a 10 gig network, all 10 gig networks support big packets. So they're telling me, oh, no, we only have small packets. That was a red flag telling me maybe it's not what you think it is. So a lot of what we do beyond just our own software is going in and helping people to figure out, all right, what's actually going wrong here? Because people come to us, they don't know why their performance is bad, and so it kind of falls on us, even though it's not technically our job to help them out.
Now, how would people get to know more about your company? They just go on the website?
Yeah, go on our website, dataexpedition.com. Probably is going to be a link posted somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, we have a lot of information there. We're very transparent. We're the only vendor in this space that puts our pricing and our software right online.
Give me a feel for pricing.
So we typically sell business to business, so the starting price is $3,000 for a server, and it goes up from there based on how many things the server can do at once.
That's very reasonable. Now you monitor that server and
No, and that's one of our big selling points is that once somebody buys our stuff, we never touch the customer data. And in media, that's really important.
Oh yeah, especially today.
Yeah, the studios out there, they don't want anybody to be able to have access to that. And we've had companies send us these 3-4 page long security reviews. What are your best practices and all that. And it's like, well, none of this applies because you control your data. You take our software, we never touch it. And we're very proud of that. We don't have to touch it.
That's awesome. Well, the company's Data Expedition. I'm sure it's dataexpedition.com.
That's right.
Hey, I got that right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Don.
And come back and visit us again next year. Interesting product.
All right. I'd love to.
All right. Thank you. This is Don Baine, the Gadget Professor. We will be right back after this. Stay tuned.